There comes a moment in every life when the hardest truth is not about strangers. It is about the people whose names we have carried since childhood. We are taught that family should always come first, that loyalty should never be questioned, and that love means enduring whatever comes our way. But what if the very place meant to shelter your heart becomes the place where your spirit is wounded? What if the voices that should encourage you are the ones that make you doubt your worth? Today, I want to remind you of something powerful. Love and pain are not the same thing, and neither are family and permission. You can honor your roots without allowing them to bury your dreams. You can care deeply without accepting disrespect. The strongest hearts are not those that suffer in silence, but those that recognize the difference between love that lifts you and love that asks you to disappear. In this journey together, we will uncover 3 toxic behaviors you should never tolerate. Not from strangers, not from friends, and not even from family. Because the moment you choose self-respect is the moment your life begins to bloom in ways you never imagined. From the moment we enter this world, we begin to learn what love looks like by watching the people closest to us. Their words become the language we speak to ourselves. Their actions become the standard by which we measure relationships. If kindness surrounds us, we often grow believing that love is gentle. But if criticism, fear, or emotional exhaustion become familiar companions, we may mistake suffering for affection. We begin to believe that love is something we must earn by sacrificing our happiness. We convince ourselves that if we just become more patient, more forgiving, more understanding, everything will eventually change. Yet there is a quiet truth that waits patiently beneath all the noise. Love should never demand the death of your peace. Peace is not a luxury reserved for people with perfect lives. It is one of the deepest needs of the human heart. It is the feeling of being able to breathe without fear of the next harsh word. It is the confidence that your mistakes will not be used against you forever. It is the freedom to be yourself without constantly wondering whether you are enough. When someone truly loves you, they do not make peace impossible to find. They become a reason why your heart feels safe instead of restless. Their presence should bring clarity, not confusion. Their love should strengthen your spirit, not slowly wear it down. There are people who believe that love is proven by how much pain someone is willing to tolerate. They will tell you that if you really care, you will keep accepting the same hurt. They expect endless forgiveness by making little effort to change. Over time, this creates a dangerous pattern. You stop asking whether the relationship is healthy, and you begin asking only how much more you can endure. Days become filled with emotional tension, and nights become filled with silent questions. You smile in public while carrying invisible burdens that no one else can see. The exhaustion becomes so familiar that you almost forget what peace feels like. One of the greatest deceptions in unhealthy relationships is the belief that protecting your own heart is selfish. You may hear words that make you feel guilty for wanting respect. You may be told that your expectations are too high or that you are too sensitive. Slowly, you begin apologizing for your emotions instead of honoring them. You silence your own voice just to avoid conflict. You hide your disappointment to keep everyone else comfortable. But every time you ignore your own well-being, a small part of your confidence begins to fade. The heart was never created to survive by constantly denying its own wounds. Healthy love does not require you to disappear so someone else can feel powerful. It celebrates your growth instead of fearing it. It listens instead of dismissing. It corrects without humiliating. It disagrees without destroying your dignity. Even during difficult conversations, respect remains. Even during disappointment, compassion remains. Love is not measured by the number of tears you shed for someone. It is measured by the way two people protect each other's humanity, especially when life becomes difficult. Sometimes the hardest lesson is accepting that a familiar relationship can still be harmful. Familiarity is comforting, but it is not always healthy. Just because someone has been part of your life for many years does not mean they have the right to steal your peace every single day. Time alone does not transform hurt into love. Repeated pain does not become acceptable simply because it comes from someone you know well. A relationship should not leave you feeling smaller, weaker, or afraid to express who you are. Your spirit deserves room to breathe, to heal, and to grow without living under the constant weight of emotional turmoil. When you begin choosing peace, something remarkable happens. Your mind becomes clearer. Your confidence slowly returns. You no longer spend every moment trying to fix people who have no desire to change. Instead, you invest that energy into becoming the person you were always meant to be. You discover that protecting your peace is not an act of rebellion against others. It is an act of faith in your own worth. It is a quiet declaration that your life has value. Your heart deserves care, and your future should not be shaped by endless emotional storms. Real love will never ask you to sacrifice your inner peace to prove your loyalty. The love that is meant for you will protect your spirit, honor your dignity, and remind you every single day that peace is not the price you pay for being loved. It is one of love's greatest gifts. There is a belief many of us inherit before we are old enough to question it, that family must always be accepted, no matter what. We are told that blood is thicker than water, that loyalty should never have limits, and that walking away from hurt within the family is somehow a failure of love. These ideas can make us feel trapped when the people closest to us become the very ones who leave the deepest scars. We begin to carry burdens that were never ours to carry, simply because we fear being judged for choosing ourselves. But there is a truth that deserves to be spoken with both courage and compassion. Family is a precious gift, but respect is a requirement. Without respect, even the strongest family bond begins to lose the warmth that gives it meaning. Being related to someone does not automatically make every action acceptable. A family connection can create history, memories, and shared experiences, but it does not erase the need for kindness, honesty, and consideration. Every healthy relationship, whether between parents and children, siblings, grandparents, or relatives, depends on mutual respect. It is respect that allows people to disagree without becoming cruel. It is respect that protects dignity even during moments of anger. When respect disappears, love slowly becomes overshadowed by fear, resentment, and emotional exhaustion. A home should be a place where your spirit feels welcomed, not where it learns to brace itself for the next painful encounter. Many people spend years excusing behavior that they would never tolerate from anyone else. If a stranger constantly insulted them, they would walk away. If a coworker repeatedly humiliated them, they would report it. If a friend ignored every boundary, they would likely end the friendship. Yet when similar behavior comes from a family member, they often convince themselves that they simply have to endure it. They tell themselves, that's just how they are, or they're family, so I have no choice. Little by little, these excuses become a prison built from guilt rather than love. Respect is not measured by expensive gifts or grand celebrations. It is revealed in everyday moments. It is seen in the willingness to listen instead of interrupting. It appears when someone values your feelings instead of mocking them. It shines through when your dreams are encouraged rather than ridiculed. Respect means recognizing another person's humanity even when opinions differ. It does not demand perfection because no family is perfect. Mistakes will happen, tempers will rise, misunderstandings will occur. But in healthy relationships, people take responsibility, apologize sincerely, and make an honest effort to do better. They do not expect forgiveness while refusing accountability. There is a quiet strength in understanding that protecting your dignity does not mean rejecting your family. Sometimes it simply means refusing to participate in unhealthy patterns that have been passed from one generation to the next. Every family has stories that stretch across decades. Some stories are filled with love and sacrifice. Others carry pain that was never healed. If no one has the courage to interrupt those painful patterns, they continue to shape every new generation. Choosing respect over silence is often the first step toward changing a family's future, not destroying it. You may never be able to control how another person treats you, but you can decide what you will continue to accept. That decision is not rooted in anger. It is rooted in self-worth. It says, I believe I deserve to be spoken to with kindness. I deserve honesty. I deserve to be treated with dignity. These are not unreasonable expectations. They are the foundation of every meaningful relationship. Love grows where respect lives. Without it, affection eventually becomes overshadowed by hurt. Never allow anyone to convince you that respect is something you must earn by enduring mistreatment. Respect is not a reward reserved for a select few. It is the minimum every human being deserves. Family can offer incredible comfort, unwavering support, and lifelong connection. But those blessings become truly meaningful only when they are built upon a foundation of honor and care. Shared blood may explain how people are connected, but it can never justify repeated emotional harm. The healthiest families are not the ones that never face conflict. They are the ones where every person understands that love is strongest when it walks hand in hand with respect, and where every member is valued not simply because they belong to the family, but because they are worthy of kindness simply for being human. One of the most damaging behaviors you can ever accept from another person is constant disrespect disguised as honesty. It often begins with words that sound harmless on the surface. Someone says, I'm only telling you the truth, or I'm just being honest with you. At first, you may even appreciate what seems like openness. After all, honesty is an important part of every meaningful relationship. But there is a profound difference between honesty that helps someone grow and honesty that is used as a weapon. One seeks to heal, the other seeks to wound. One is spoken with compassion, the other is delivered with pride, impatience, or contempt. Think about the people who have truly helped you become a better version of yourself. Chances are they did not humiliate you when you made a mistake. They corrected you without stripping away your dignity. They challenged your thinking without attacking your character. Their words may not have always been easy to hear, but they left you feeling stronger instead of smaller. That is what truth spoken with love looks like. It respects both the message and the person receiving it. It understands that every heart carries invisible battles and that kindness is never the enemy of honesty. Cruelty, however, often hides behind the mask of bluntness. Some people believe that being harsh makes them wise, or that speaking without compassion proves they are authentic. They make insulting comments about your appearance, your dreams, your choices, or your abilities. And when you express that their words hurt you, they quickly defend themselves by saying, I'm just telling it like it is. But honesty is never an excuse for humiliation. Truth does not require disrespect to be effective. In fact, the more valuable the truth, the more carefully it should be delivered. When this behavior comes from family, it can become even more confusing. You may grow up believing that constant criticism is normal because it has always been part of your environment. Every achievement is met with a reminder of what you did wrong. Every dream is greeted with doubt instead of encouragement. Every success is compared to someone else's accomplishments. Over time, you begin to expect criticism before you even speak. You silence your ideas because you have learned that sharing them often leads to ridicule rather than support. The voice that once came from others slowly becomes the voice inside your own mind, repeating the same hurtful messages long after the conversation has ended. Words have extraordinary power. They can inspire courage in someone who is ready to give up, or they can plant seeds of insecurity that last for years. Many people spend decades trying to recover from sentences that took only a few seconds to say. A child repeatedly told they will never succeed may grow into an adult who doubts every opportunity. A person constantly mocked for expressing emotions may eventually stop trusting anyone with their heart. This is why we must never underestimate the influence of the language we use. Every conversation has the power either to build confidence or to slowly tear it apart. It is also important to recognize that accepting disrespect does not make you humble. It simply teaches others that they can continue crossing boundaries without consequence. When hurtful comments are ignored again and again, they often become more frequent, not less. Silence is sometimes mistaken for permission. That is why healthy boundaries matter. A boundary is not a punishment. It is a clear and respectful way of saying, you may speak the truth, but you may not speak to me without respect. It protects your dignity while still leaving room for honest conversations. The strongest people are not those who never hear criticism. They are the ones who learn to separate wisdom from cruelty. They welcome advice that helps them grow, but they refuse words designed only to diminish their spirit. They understand that not every opinion deserves a place in their heart. Some words are meant to teach, while others are meant to control. Learning the difference is one of the greatest forms of emotional maturity. Never allow anyone to convince you that enduring constant disrespect is the price of staying close to them. Real love does not delight in making another person feel ashamed. It speaks truth with patience. It offers correction with grace. It remembers that every human being deserves dignity, even in moments of disagreement. When honesty is wrapped in kindness, it has the power to transform lives. But when honesty becomes an excuse for cruelty, it loses its purpose. You deserve relationships where truth makes you wiser, not smaller, where words encourage growth instead of fear, and where respect remains present even when difficult conversations must be had. That is the kind of love that strengthens the soul instead of breaking it. There is a quiet battle that many people fight every single day, and it has nothing to do with the world outside. It happens within the walls of the mind. It begins when the opinions of other people slowly become louder than your own inner voice. At first, it may seem insignificant. A dismissive comment here, a harsh judgment there, a comparison that leaves you feeling inadequate. But over time, those moments accumulate. They begin to shape the way you see yourself. Before long, you stop asking, "Who am I?" and start asking, "What do they think of me?" That is a dangerous place to live, because your identity becomes dependent on people whose opinions are often influenced by their own fears, disappointments, and limitations. The truth is that not everyone will understand your journey. Some people will judge you based on a single moment, without knowing the years of effort that brought you there. Others will criticize your dreams simply because they abandoned their own long ago. There will always be voices eager to define your limits before you have even discovered your potential. If you build your confidence on the shifting opinions of others, your self-worth will rise and fall with every compliment and every criticism. One day you will feel unstoppable because someone praised you, and the next day you will question your value because someone doubted you. That is not freedom. It is emotional captivity. One of the greatest lessons we can learn is that another person's opinion is not a mirror of our value. It is only a reflection of their perspective. Two people can look at the same painting and see completely different things. One may call it extraordinary, while another calls it ordinary. Yet the painting itself has not changed. In the same way, your worth does not increase because someone admires you, nor does it decrease because someone refuses to see your light. Your value exists independently of the applause you receive or the criticism you endure. This becomes especially important when the criticism comes from family. The people closest to us often have the strongest influence over our self-image. Their words echo longer because they reach us when we are still learning who we are. A child who repeatedly hears that they are not smart enough may carry that belief into adulthood, even after achieving remarkable success. A young person constantly compared to siblings or relatives may grow into an adult who never feels accomplished, no matter how much they achieve. The wound is not always caused by one cruel sentence. More often, it is created by years of small comments that slowly convince someone they will never be enough. But here is the remarkable truth. The voice you inherited does not have to be the voice you keep. Every person has the ability to choose which words deserve a permanent place in their heart. You cannot erase every painful memory, but you can refuse to let those memories define your future. Every time you challenge a lie about your worth, you weaken its power. Every time you choose to believe in your abilities, despite someone's doubts, you take another step toward emotional freedom. Healing often begins not when the world changes its opinion of you, but when you change your opinion of yourself. Imagine carrying a beautiful diamond through a crowded street. One person mistakes it for ordinary glass and walks past without a second glance. Another recognizes its beauty immediately. Did the diamond become more valuable because one person appreciated it? Did it become worthless because another ignored it? Of course not. Its value remained exactly the same. Human beings are no different. Your gifts, your kindness, your resilience, and your character do not disappear simply because someone fails to recognize them. Never allow another person's inability to see your worth to become evidence that it does not exist. There will always be individuals who try to place labels on you. They may call you too ambitious, too emotional, too quiet, too different, or too much of something they do not understand. But labels are often created to simplify what people are unwilling to take the time to appreciate. You were never meant to fit comfortably inside someone else's expectations. Your purpose is far greater than becoming a smaller version of yourself just to make others feel comfortable. Growth requires the courage to disappoint those who only accepted the version of you that never challenged them. So guard your inner voice carefully. Let wisdom enter your heart, but do not let unnecessary criticism build a home there. Listen to advice that helps you become better, but release words that exist only to diminish your confidence. The opinions of others may pass through your life, but they should never become the foundation upon which your identity stands. Your worth is not something that must be voted on, approved, or validated by the people around you. It is something you carry within you from the very beginning. The moment you stop measuring yourself by someone else's opinion is the moment you begin to walk with a confidence that no criticism can steal and no rejection can destroy. There is a form of pain that leaves no visible bruise, yet it weighs heavily on the heart. It is the pain of being made to feel guilty for simply wanting peace, respect, or the freedom to make your own choices. Emotional manipulation rarely announces itself with loud words or obvious threats. More often, it arrives quietly, dressed as concern, loyalty, or sacrifice. It whispers that you owe someone your happiness because of everything they have done for you. It convinces you that saying no is an act of betrayal, and that choosing your own well-being somehow makes you selfish. Before long, you begin carrying responsibilities that were never yours. Not because you want to, but because guilt has become stronger than your own voice. Love should inspire freedom, not fear. It should encourage growth, not dependence. Yet emotional manipulation does the opposite. It creates relationships where affection is given only when expectations are met. Approval becomes something you must earn, rather than something freely shared. The moment you make a decision that someone dislikes, their warmth disappears. They withdraw their kindness, remind you of past sacrifices, or make you feel responsible for their disappointment. Instead of having honest conversations, they use emotions as tools to influence your choices. Slowly, you stop making decisions based on what is right for your life and start making them based on what will keep someone else from becoming upset. This pattern can be especially difficult to recognize within families because many of us are raised to believe that obedience and love are the same thing. We are taught to put everyone else's needs ahead of our own, even when doing so slowly drains our joy. While kindness and generosity are beautiful qualities, they should never require you to abandon yourself. There is a profound difference between helping someone because your heart desires to, and helping because you are afraid of the consequences if you refuse. One is an act of love, the other is an act of fear. You may have experienced moments when someone reminded you of everything they had done for you, not to express gratitude for the relationship, but to make you feel indebted. Instead of celebrating your independence, they treated it as rejection. Instead of respecting your decisions, they questioned your character. They made ordinary boundaries feel like personal attacks. If you wanted time alone, you were accused of not caring. If you pursued your own dreams, you were told you were forgetting where you came from. If you disagreed respectfully, you were made to feel ungrateful. Over time, guilt became the invisible thread pulling every decision you made. The danger of emotional manipulation is that it slowly teaches you to distrust your own instincts. Even when you know something is unhealthy, you hesitate because you worry about hurting someone else's feelings. You become so focused on protecting everyone around you that you forget your own heart also deserves protection. You apologize for setting healthy boundaries. You explain yourself endlessly, hoping to earn permission to live your own life. Yet true freedom begins when you realize that you do not need permission to care for your emotional well-being. Healthy relationships leave room for choice. They respect the fact that every person has dreams, opinions, limits, and responsibilities of their own. They understand that love cannot be forced through pressure or maintained through guilt. When someone genuinely loves you, they may not always agree with your decisions, but they will respect your right to make them. They will communicate honestly instead of using silence, shame, or emotional pressure to control your actions. They understand that love offered freely is always stronger than loyalty demanded through fear. One of the greatest acts of courage is learning to separate compassion from obligation. You can care deeply about someone without allowing them to control your life. You can appreciate everything a person has done for you while still making decisions that honor your future. Gratitude does not require surrendering your identity. Kindness does not require sacrificing your peace. It is possible to love others sincerely while also remaining faithful to the person you are becoming. Remember this whenever guilt begins to cloud your judgment. Your heart was not created to live in chains. Relationships should not feel like contracts where every act of kindness must be repaid with your freedom. They should feel like places where both people are encouraged to grow, where respect is given without conditions, and where love is expressed without manipulation. The people who truly care about you may not always understand every choice you make, but they will never demand that you lose yourself just to prove your love. The healthiest love does not control your path. It walks beside you, cheering for your growth, honoring your boundaries, and reminding you that the strongest relationships are built on trust, not guilt. Saying no is not always easy because it often challenges years of conditioning. At first, your voice may tremble. You may feel guilty even when you have done nothing wrong. You may replay conversations in your mind, wondering whether you should have explained yourself more. But with time, something remarkable happens. You begin to realize that every respectful boundary strengthens your confidence. Every honest conversation reminds you that your needs matter too. You stop apologizing for protecting your peace, and you begin embracing the truth that your well-being is not something you must earn. Healthy people understand boundaries because they understand respect. They may feel disappointed from time to time, but they do not punish you for having limits. They recognize that every meaningful relationship depends on mutual consideration. They know that a person who is constantly overwhelmed cannot continue giving with joy. In fact, boundaries often make relationships stronger because they replace hidden resentment with honest communication. Instead of pretending everything is fine while quietly hurting inside, both people learn to speak openly, listen carefully, and value each other's needs. It is also important to remember that boundaries reveal the true character of a relationship. Anyone can appreciate your generosity when you never ask for anything in return. The real test comes when you begin protecting your time, your energy, and your emotional health. Those who genuinely love you will learn to respect your limits, even if it takes time. Those who only valued what they could take from you may resist, criticize, or attempt to make you feel guilty. Their reaction is not proof that your boundary is unfair. Sometimes it simply reveals what the relationship was built upon all along. Never believe the lie that choosing yourself means abandoning others. There is a world of difference between selfishness and self-respect. Selfishness ignores the needs of everyone else. Self-respect remembers that your needs matter too. The healthiest hearts are not those that endlessly sacrifice until nothing remains. They are the ones that give generously without losing themselves in the process. When you learn to say no with kindness, you are also saying yes to your peace, your dignity, your growth, and your future. And that may be one of the most compassionate gifts you will ever give, not only to yourself, but also to every relationship that is meant to flourish through honesty, respect, and genuine love.